And we are live. What's going on, everybody? Happy New Year's Eve. It is day before New Year's Eve, so we have one full trading day tomorrow. Hope everybody had an awesome weekend. And just going to take a look at some charts here just to see where we left off on Friday. So far we have futures, of course, up right now, green. Looks like they're holding pretty steady. So we'll see if that holds to the evening, if there's no new news that comes out, and we're going to be gapping up tomorrow. So that should be interesting. So I kind of tweeted out earlier that it looks like if we, I was thinking if we gap up, it'd probably be a good opportunity to short. But we just have to see how strong this gap is and how it holds, right? So that's again why we like to wait 15 minutes, right, for at least the 15-minute orbs to form, or if we have to, and things are really looking, the price action is warranting it, we go to the 60 anchors to see if there's anything interesting on the way. So, but real quick, let's just take a look where the SPX left off. As promised, I said I would take a look at where we're at, in the overall market and what's going on. So, best way to describe it, really, like I said, I like to use Elliott Wave to get a bigger, kind of a big picture look at what's going on with the market. And so we'll just take a look real quick here. So we've got, as we know, all of 2018 was contained by this channel here, and then as we approach the end of the year, looked like we started essentially a corrective period down, and possibly after the double top, possibly a start of a fresh complete wave down, and maybe the start of a bear market, which could potentially last for a while if it actually falls into place. So if this is what we think it is, it looks like we had a wave 1 down, ABC for wave 2, and in some way working on perhaps already had the wave 3 in. And we'll just have to see how that forms, right? Because there's a couple different scenarios that could happen there. So this bounce that we've had recently has been pretty interesting, right? So huge candlestick here on the on this day after Christmas. So big bar there, then followed by a hammer bar, right? So this basically sets up your Morningstar reversal, right? There's a lot better Morningstar reversal setups because you have this gap down, and you have a big real body bar. I prefer to see like a smaller real body bar there, but it is below the real body here, and then the next day went pierced pretty far into the first bar. So that setup right there, this 3-bar combo, is your Morningstar reversal. Then it was followed by a huge movements that day too. If you remember, we gapped down, and then it kind of went up, and then it looked like we were going way down. We're down. Then before you knew it, it was almost like a 1,200 point move on the Dow, whatever it was that day from the lows. And then anyway, here on the S&P, nice hammer bar. What I noticed is though, statistically, hammers are very bullish, right? Because it looks like you'll get follow through the next day. But I've always found that the next day is never quite that easy, right? I mean, if you look at it, this was kind of a hammer, even it's more of like a Yorikiri bar, sort of inverted, but here, you look like you're going to get some follow through here, and it did. It got to push to the upside, and then kind of finished down. So where does that put us in the grand scheme of things? Well, if this count is going to stay valid, right? So this wave 1 down, a wave 4, which maybe if this was a wave 3 down, right, which is very possible, then the wave 4 cannot overlap this level right here. So the SPX has to stay below 2603.54 for this wave count to be correct, right? Which means we probably would expect, and I've drawn a Fibonacci retracement here from the highs to the lows, and usually a wave 4, is going to correct at most, 38.2%, of the distance travel between wave 1 to wave 3, and so it's actually getting pretty close here, right? You see it still gives a good distance here below wave 1, and so I would expect, if this bear market is indeed going to be in place, that we should see some sort of reversal signal here. It might get like a little bit of a pop above it, and look at that. Coincidentally, it is syncing up with the larger range, almost like 2/3 of the year of this pitchfork here. So we just took a this pivot to the pivot high, down to this pivot low back in April. And you can see here, as it comes up to this 38.2 retracement, it gets really, really close to this this median line, right, of the pitchfork. And so that would be almost a textbook reversal area to then continue a wave 5 down, which could easily continue past wave 3, may retest this pitchfork bottom, and then we'll see what happens from there. So right now this has been essentially the recovery, or this recovery balance, played perfectly here with the pitchfork low, and also is kind of coming back up and may test the pitchfork median level. So when we look at going long here, to reach all-time highs, it would be very, you could be an uber bull and just keep banking on it and all that stuff. But until we break that level, that 2603.54, we still have some questions, right? So I would expect to see a pivot here and then work its way back down right now, until proven otherwise. So that kind of gives you the state of the market and what we're looking at. So wanted to touch on a couple things from Friday. So I pointed out one of the things I wanted to talk about today was the volume profile. And so with the volume profile, you can get a lot of good information. So Thinkorswim has it built in. It's not the best layout of the volume profile. There's some charting tools out there that you can kind of have it below your charts and kind of faded transparency wise in the bathroom in the background, so you can kind of see where those are. But what I'll do is I'll show you a couple examples. So in Thinkorswim, what they do is they take the volume profile, and I thought I had it on at least the 5-minute chart here. Give it a second to load. I might have taken it off. Anyway, so each time frame you go to is going to show you a different profile, right? So what the volume profile here, I'll just show you on the 60-minute time frame. Actually, let me go down to the daily here. You can kind of see that, because that gives you more of a global perspective. Let me go to one that doesn't have so many crazy lines on it. Let's go to Tesla. I don't think I have too much on there. Okay, so Tesla here, you've got the volume profile. I do have a lot of reaction lines here off of the Andrew's action reaction lines, but what we have is this. Now, like I said, I like it when it's embedded over the chart, so you can kind of see a little bit better. It doesn't give you a lot of room on Thinkorswim, so you kind of have to click it on, click it off. I like it, and I like it when it's faced the other way too. TradingView offers it in a direction that's kind of like this way, so it's basically inverted and facing the other way. And I've tried to go into the settings and correct it, but if you guys want to pull up the volume bar, and I don't know if you can see my pop-ups, but all you do is you go to click on Studies, and then you click on Edit Studies, and then in the box you type in, I just type in Profile, and then it gives you 3 different profile things. You click on volume profile, and you double click on that, you add it, apply, or OK, and then it pops up here on the right. Now you can't edit the settings of that. You can change the opacity of it. You can make it lighter. I've tried to mess with the settings to get it to appear over here so it overlaps the entire chart, but right now it just doesn't really give you that capability. But when you're scanning through your charts and you're looking at ideas, it does help to look at this. What this does, as opposed to the volume bars that are at the bottom of the page that shows you how much volume occurred that day, the volume profile shows the volume that occurred at that price. And so that kind of gives you a different perspective, right? Because it shows you where this one doesn't break it down into buyers and sellers, just like these don't. I think there are tools that are out there that can do that. I think NinjaTrader might do it, but you have to pay for it, and might be worth looking into one day. It's kind of on my wish list of things to add in addition to some, upgraded computers and all that stuff. But what this does show you is this gives you enough information that you need, and I would like to. That's why it would be nice if it was embedded. But just to kind of show you here, so you can see the flow of the chart here at Tesla. I'm going to zoom back out again. Anywhere you see like one of these volume pockets, right, shows you that there's not as much interest, or there's not that much volume at that price. So where we landed on Friday with Tesla is right kind of in the middle of this pocket right here, right? So what that would imply is that if it wants to go higher, it has to get through a higher amount of possibly open interest, maybe some more resistance, right? So you can use this to kind of evaluate the levels of resistance other than just looking at pivots. I mean, you'll find a lot of pivots coincidentally have a lot of volume in those areas because there's a lot of support there to have it, essentially to pivot and go up. So when you look at this pivot right here, you scroll right across, well, naturally there's a lot of volume there, right? And that's why momentum trading through pivots is, that's why you get extra boosts through it, because there's a lot of stops that are set up here, right? There's a lot of stops that are set down here. There's a lot of volume there, right? So when you can get through these major pivot levels in volume that a lot of times correspond to pivots on your chart, what that does is it gets into essentially an air pocket of low volume, and a lot of times you can see that push through those areas until you find more resistance. So it really does help to add it to your trading repertoire to have this, or at least use it in a sensible way. So like with Tesla here, if we break down in this area here, there's still a little bit of room all the way down to the 317 level, and then at 317 you're finding some more support here volume wise. But if we break up to the upside from where we are, we're at 333. It looks like it's got some potential room to 341, and so that's where you can kind of, when you go with the time frames that you're most comfortable trading on. So with me, I like to trade on the hourly, intraday, just because it gives me good signals. And then what you can do is you can look at your hourly gaps, because it takes into account the hourly time frames, and can look for resistance points, and really it helps you make decisions for making trades, right? And so I do like how Tesla gave us a 60 anchor here, a nice hammer bar that we could potentially trade off of tomorrow. So let's see what it looks like on the hourly. Let's pull up a study. Let's add volume profile. And let's go there. Apply. Okay. Okay, so there we go. So right here where this hammer is, right? Okay, so if we take the 60 anchor and we break the 60 anchor here to the upside, we will enter into like a bit of an air pocket here. So this is really kind of critical for us to look at tomorrow. Now, if we're gapping up tomorrow, we could see a potential gap and go with Tesla. It's not showing me the complete volume profile above, but let me put 60 anchor alert there for us. And then what I'll do is I'm going to add more days on this here. I'm going to click on time frame, and I'm going to add, just say 10 days, which should give us some more knowledge. And there it is. So the more days I add, the more volume you can see. So here, if the 60 anchor breaks to the upside, it's got a volume amount. You don't start to hit resistance on volume until 337, right? I mean, it's not a lot for Tesla. It's only 4 points, and then 338. So 3 to 5 points. It looks like you've got as a potential break of that 60 anchor to the upside. The downside, if this tail fails here, it looks like you've got an air pocket below it. So so trading off of this 60 anchor tomorrow is actually pretty significant. So a break to the downside, the low of this anchor is 330, and so that starts that volume pocket here, which gets you to about 327. So you can see potentially a 3-point move to the downside, and if it wants to, it could get all the way here to 322. So basically Tesla needs to hold this 60 anchor, otherwise a breakdown here could lead to further downside until it gets to support at 322 and 320. 320 is pretty strong, right? So I think this is definitely effective and will definitely help. And we saw the other day on Netflix at the end of the day, I tweeted here, and I know there's a lot of lines here, so just bear with me. Here we had an inside 60, right? That did break to the upside, right? Remember, it tested the downside, and I know Fanny was online and looking at it, and went, kind of took it down, and it kind of stunk, but it failed. And if you look at the volume profile here, you can see that there was a potential for it to get some movement to the downside, but it just didn't fill, right? And so what happened is when it finally broke, it finally found a nice volume air pocket right here, and then it spiked all the way to this level before it kind of ran out of steam, right? And so that's what you can when you're trading inside bars, right, if it fails to the one side, there's a very good chance that it's going to test the other side of the bar. And we've seen that with our double inside day strategies. If you ever can find a double inside 60, that helps intraday. So when this kind of failed to the downside, right, as it was reclaiming this level, you can almost bet that it was going to at least move 2 points to reclaim the range. And here it put in a nice, really solid green bar. And then the next hour, it finally broke that to the upside and gave it all the way up to 261 from 256. So it gave a pretty strong move. And we looked at on the options that ended up really playing out well as off of the. I think those are probably off of the grid here. But just say you did last week's, and it was what we were at, like 255 at the time. Just say like 260 or something. I can't remember which one was the better. But if we go here. It's kind of like that was at 12:30, right? And so just to look at last week options, all we have to do is plug in, just change the date. So instead of 2019, we want 2018, and we want 12. And what was that? The 28th? Was Friday? 260s. And so I mean, you can use volume bars on these as well, but you could see here that it was a. I'm going to remove the volume profile right now. Just give me 1 second. All right, and then we'll move on after this. 1 second. There, and just to show you. So if you have multiple monitors, right, it is one thing that if you're stalking a stock and you saw that Netflix is putting an inside 60 in, one thing you can do is look, and take the option chart and put it on another screen, and that's not not linked, but just a separate screen, and kind of watch that independently too. And we see here is that ultimately around this 12:30 kind of time frame, you could have got in around like 30 cents potentially, or even a break of this spinning top over here. At 33 cents, and then it ended up launching all the way up to over $2, right? So this is, if you're doing lotto tickets on a Friday, you can see that that can be effective, right? And you can do it here too. I mean, look, this is Thursday, right? So there was a reversal hammer. Remember on the 26th, that was a huge day up, right? It put in a hammer, and you could trade off of that. That traded the upside there, 89 cents, all the way up to 267, right? And so you can just kind of move your stop progressively, as those happen, right? So just something interesting to look at, and just a new tool that you can use to trade. So if you're using Thinkorswim, and you can put the option that you're interested in trading on another screen, it gives you a better clue as to your flow, your option flow in terms of volume and price. And then you can even add the volume profile to it too, because it'll show you the volume at certain prices as well. So this is pretty amazing how they all kind of interrelate. So that's that. And then real quick, I just kind of wanted to show you something pretty cool that I was really excited about. I wanted to talk about new candlestick pattern tonight, and although it's a common candlestick pattern, what I did want to show is the doji, right? A doji is where you the price opens and closes at or very close to the same price. So it opens at the same price and closes at the same price, and then usually you get a wick or a shadow above or below that price to kind of makes it just look like a cross. And so when we look at, let me go to the daily. Yeah, big stuff here. Lots of lines. It's sloppy, but it really means something. So there's a couple terminology. There was one terminology that I wasn't quite familiar with or wasn't quite sure of. There's 3 or 4 major names of dojis, right? There's the regular doji, which is this one here. Was actually probably more of a long leg doji. It's because each leg above and below is long, right? So a regular doji would just kind of simple, just like a little cross. And so this would be like a long leg doji. And then you have the dojis that are, this is kind of a long leg doji here. It's debatable whether it's a spinning top or not. Then you have this one right here, right? So if this line were all the way at the bottom of the closing price, were exactly at the bottom of the of the bar, that would be a gravestone doji. And if it were already at the top, it would be a Dragonfly doji, right? And so, but what do you call it? Like when it's kind of sort of at the top or kind of sort of at the bottom, like this one. And so I found the names for those. And so this one is called a southern doji because it's in the the southern region or the lower region of the doji. And then if it's kind of not all the way at the top, but that's a northern doji, so kind of makes sense, right? So you'll see me kind of tweeting those out a little bit. Basically say that, hey, the market's kind of making an indecision, or the price of this stock or whatever is making a decision, so something might change. And so what I wanted to show you too, one awesome new discovery as I was reading about this, is that they can be combined with indicators to give you a stronger trade. And never realized this before, but this is pretty interesting. So this one here is kind of like a regular doji. You can call it a spinning top, but it is pretty thin. And just right, and it got a pretty big bounce over the next couple days. So it went all the way. The closing prices here is 1727. Eventually, over the next couple days, went up to 1843. Right, so almost a 100-point move right there, right? So the next day, obviously, if you're like, hey, we're oversold, I've got a doji, I want to go, let me get a call or some calls to go long, and look, ended up gapping up the next day, 1721, all the way almost 100 points on that one, right? So like 80 points there, right? And then, but either way, if you're shares, whatever the case is, you could have moved your stop, just keep it under kind of your doji area, and you'd have been safe all the way up to here. Right, and so what I wanted to go back is to this last market correction and show, and you can kind of see here, these aren't oversold, but there were a couple dojis. There was one right here, right, but we did get kind of a peak in the RSI, right? It wasn't oversold, but you got a peak and had a huge move down. Here at this one, and this is a northern doji, right, which was kind of at a peak here as well, and we got some more downward movement there. And then this was the really significant one because it was another oversold area, right, with another doji, and look what happened from there. So from that closing price, we were at 1342, all the way up to, as high as 15, almost 200 points off of that, just here. And so this is a pretty new discovery, and I'm pretty excited about it. So just keep it in mind, going forward. So interestingly enough, Amazon put in something of a spinning top type doji right here, which, like I said, is more common after you have and don't forget here, Morningstar reversal, a little better Morningstar reversal because the smaller body here, big penetrating bar here into this. So we're kind of in this Morningstar reversal in effect. Inside day up here broke to the upside, went 1468 all the way to 40 points here before it reversed back in, and then then kind of gave us almost a doji day yesterday. So nothing really significant going on with RSI. Apparently you can also use MACD and stochastic with it as well, but just from back testing a couple of these dojis here, you could see RSI is perfectly effective. So right now, just based on the continuation of RSI to the upward, it would seem that this doji here would just be a pause, because remember, usually your hammers don't give you a perfect move the next day. Just like this hammer here, it did go up, but it kind of came back in and finished red, right? So not very impressive after that, although a couple days later, it did move up. So here we had an inside hammer, broke to the upside, pause day. So it doesn't look yet like there's going to be any sort of reversal, but it might give you some sort of measured move back up to this pitchfork area, which was my kind of line in the sand area anyway, for reversal for Amazon. So let's see how that plays out as well. So hopefully that review of volume profiles and dojis hopefully will be helpful for you. Other than that, pretty much like I said, yep. So I kind of talked about all that. I'm working on the game plan, kind of putting it together for tomorrow. With the gap up, like I said, there's a few 60 anchors that you can look at, including Tesla, and Tesla's a good one. Including Tesla and some other ones that you can look at, but pretty much at this point, I've got a few that we could look at for the game plan for tomorrow, and I'm hoping we get some at least some interesting news in the morning for us to add to the 15 orb list. But right now, all I have for tomorrow is going to be the New York Times, which apparently several newspapers got cyber attacked this weekend, and New York Times has been trading pretty well. It's been getting some volatility out of it. So let's see if it'll give us any movement off of the 15 orb tomorrow. It doesn't move huge, even this big red bar here was only $1.38, but it's a pretty cheap stock. So it could give you a trade or something like that. Options probably don't trade really well on it. I've never traded options on New York Times. Yeah, they're pretty big, 15-cent spreads. So you would have to expect, if you get, it looks like if you get a dollar move or so, you could double up. Just be real careful with that, but open interest is pretty good, so it looks like options could be potentially traded, but probably on this one, better to trade the common shares off of a 15 orb if there is any movement on that. But other than that, pretty much don't have anything out. I'm going to check in with the chat room, see how everybody's doing, and if you have any questions about anything we talked about, or if you have chart requests, please put them in, and I'll be happy to pull it up and at least take a look at how I look at it, and maybe it'll give you some insights in it. So, Clayton, how's it going? Still in Brazil. Sorry, won't make the end of it, but I hope you're doing great down there, and looking forward to seeing you when you get back. And Happy New Year to you. Please enjoy your family and your friends, and there'll be plenty of trading to do when you get back. Manoj, how are you? Good to see you. Jeff, good to see you. Jay Pinto, hey man, what's going on? Karthik, can you change the settings and change from on expansion? That will put at on background. Can you change the settings and change from on expansion? If you can do me a favor, Karthik, if you can tweet that to me, just like a screenshot of how to do it, because I think, let me just go here, let me add profile, volume. All right, so we go here. He said on expansion. There we go. On expansion, let's put no. And then you said, can you change it? On expansion. Don't put it in the back. Oh, that'd be great, man, if you figure that out for me. That'd be brilliant. Oh, dude, you're the man. Look at that. Hold on. All right, so, oh, there it is. Oh, look at that. Karthik, thank you so much, man. Oh, that is awesome. You are awesome. Look at that. And then, oh, that is fantastic. And then you can go in and edit it here. I don't know if you guys can actually see this, but you can go in and edit, your transparency. Man, on expansion, I had no idea that was it. And I should have clicked through each of these question marks that are on here that it said was on the expansion area on the chart. Oh man, that's because I thought I've seen TOS without it. That's great, man. Yeah, opacity, you can change it to 20% or something like that. Nice and cool in the background. Hold on, that's awesome. Oh, look at that. Oh man, you are the man. Thank you, Karthik. I appreciate that. That looks great. That is really, thank you so much. That just makes life better. You are awesome. No, Merritt, hey, how's it going, man? Yeah, so the market is not closed early tomorrow. It's a full day tomorrow. So, yep, David, appreciate that. Yeah, not closing early tomorrow, but we will be closed on Tuesday. So, Manoj, on daily trading, do you always use calls and puts, or do you use vertical or multi-leg strategies? For the most part, honestly, Manoj, I pretty much just use calls and puts. I've experimented with lots of multi-leg strategies before, and just gotten completely burned. Because now verticals are good, because they really do limit your losses, right? So doing a vertical, it's like you can really define your loss, but you also define your profit, right? And so that's the only drawback of it, but you are a lot safer in the trade. A lot of brokers and stuff encourage, some exotic strategies like iron condors, things like that. I've had some success in the past with iron condors. What I found is over time you end up losing. I mean, unless you're like with a and I don't use Robinhood, but unless you use and I don't know what type of exotic strategies they allow, but I know TD Ameritrade was always big with iron condors, and they do them on their Think TV or whatever it is, and it's of course they like it because you buy multiple legs on it. Then if you really want to make a bigger profit, you got to buy 10 of them. Well, that's 10 times 4, so that's 40 options with whatever their commissions are, right? $5. So you're talking $200 just in commissions just to put a trade on. It's ridiculous. So so with me, I'll just do intraday. And even long term, I'll just do calls and puts. I mean, there's other strategies you can do, but if you're really confident in your setup, it works well. And then you can limit your losses by setting your stops and all that stuff. So for me, that's how I trade. So if something's going to break out and something's going to move, it's going to move right away. Then I can put my stop up at profit and, be okay there. and just manage it like I'm managing common shares, right? So that's why I only trade liquid stuff like the FANG stocks. I don't trade Amazon and Google very much with options because the spreads are really annoying. But you could do a lot better on those with vertical. So if you're uncomfortable trading Google and Amazon and those big stocks with options, you could put a vertical trade on, and that would it would limit your gains, but it would also limit the some of your pullback on a lot of that stuff. Man, Karthik, man, I can't thank you enough, man. That's just great. I just thought there was something just wrong with Thinkorswim. It's like, why would you put that over there? This is great. Now you can see these volume profiles. Like here, look, you've got all this. So let's say tomorrow New York Times is going to be on the 15 orb list. Well, if that 15 orb goes to the downside because they've been cyber attacked, I mean, look at that short area. I mean, that volume area that this thing could just, if it breaks support here, I mean, it would just be fantastic. This is great. Below. Look at that. You have improved my life. Thank you. Okay, so that is good. Thanks, Matt. I really appreciate that. Thanks, man. So yeah, hopefully you learn something out of these, and and obviously we all help each other. So that's a good thing too. Dave, how's it going? Do you see the SPY going down more? Good question. So in a lot of ways I do. Now keep in mind, right? So this was the other day, right? So we had a lot of these, a lot of the FANG stocks were green. Google happened to be red. Facebook was red. Twitter was red. Right? And the SPY, right? The SPY and the Q were red, right? So kind of expected after a big hammer day, but let's just kind of zoom in here. And in case, I don't know if you found me on Twitter or if you found me on YouTube, but if you check out my Twitter handle at True Bubblehead, right, you'll see I always analyze SPY every night and the Qs and then the FANG stocks, right? So I do monthly, weekly, daily and hourly charts, and then I look at kind of Elliott wave pitchfork type thing. So here the SPY did a Morningstar reversal, right? So we had so in other words, right now it is pretty well defended, right, in this with this Morningstar reversal until we see otherwise, right? Now we did put in I think pretty much, a red spinning top, right? So red spinning top is essentially like a doji, right? But it represents indecision again, and so it's hard to trade off of, but you can still look at breaks to the upside and downside. So at this point, right, what SPY is doing is obviously very similar to the SPX. And so if it wants to, it can go a little bit higher. And I need to go in there and make that my default on the volume profile thing. I don't know if you can. I'll do it later, but I don't know if there's like a default button or something like that. I'll just have to do that individually or save the study set or whatever it is. But anyway, so what I want to show is I'll go the hourly because I don't think I have the volume in there. So here, right, we're essentially working on, just like the SPX, we're working on, it looks like it's working on a wave 4 correction to the upside. Here I kind of drew it here, and the SPY looks like it hit about 38.2%, a little bit different than the than the SPX. I didn't do it from the all-time highs, but I did do it from the second top here, from this top here in November. And so I have a 1, 2, 3, potentially 4 here to the upside, and so. So yeah, obviously we're going to be gapping up tomorrow. So assume we gap up and we're kind of retesting this area. If it doesn't get above this 251 with any sort of strength, right, what we're doing is we're coming into this pitchfork resistance. So it could still go a little bit higher, potentially test here. Have to kind of recount this wave up. But we would look for a pivot here. I was assuming this was kind of a pivot as close as it could get. But you see what it did back here, pivoted at this pitchfork top, and then really came back in, plowed through, kind of paused a little bit at the median line, and then plowed back through. So let's see here if it still wants to work its way up a little bit, but I would still look to see if we get a pivot and then come back in to the downside. So there is further downside potential, but the question is, now that we're gapping up, how much further upside is there? And it looks like the all-out point on the, if we're going short for now, would be if it broke 254 and then got through 255. Ultimately we don't want it to go here. All out at 2 was the low there for this wave count to be completely wrong. 258.62. I know that's kind of far away. We're at 240, so it's 10 points away. But let's see how it handles this this resistance area up here, right? So so keep that in mind. Jeff, how's it going? All right, so can you please describe your speculative NVIDIA trade on Friday morning? Yeah, so so NVIDIA is, so what we do is we trade the anchors, right? So at the open, so there's a couple of different ways we can trade the open. We can use orbs, which are, you wait. I mean, you can use any orb you want to, but 15 seems to be the best on day one of something with news or earnings or something like that. So you wait 15 minutes, you wait for that bar to form, and then you look for what kind of direction the stock is taking. Ideally, you trade in direction of the gap, but the way the market's been so volatile, you can kind of almost trade it both ways for once to the downside and then a reversal to the upside too, the way it's kind of been going. With NVIDIA, if we go to the 60s, so our anchor the other day from Thursday, the way it closed, right? And what I want to do is kind of show you. Okay, so here on, so this was your hammer bar, right? So this is your anchor, right, from Thursday evening. Now, obviously, you have to have your settings the same as mine, where you start your day at 9:30 on the 60s. Otherwise, it's not going to match up, right? And you can do that by going to settings. Here, the little widget here, you go to settings, and then you click on equities, and then show, you can check or uncheck show extended hours trading session, right? So you want that off, right? So your day starts at 9:30 like the rest of the market, right? Okay, so your hammer bar is right here, right? And so what happens is we trade off of that. We look for a break to the upside, and we look for a break to the downside. Now, we gapped up, right? So it's hard to just trade that, but as the market came in a little bit, we wanted to see how it handled that bar, right? And so it came back in, and 50% is a good range to deal with, right? If it couldn't hold that 50% range and it's coming down, it's probably going to test the bottom of the range. It might be a good spot to short, at least attempt to see if it does a breakdown through that that tail if that fails. But here we could kind of see, we were watching the price action, and we could see here it got to 50%. It looks like it was coming back up, and you could do a scalp or a speculative trade here. What I want to show you is by using the multiple time frames, right? Here, last month, this is this month, this is last month, right? So we use price on multiple time frames because they react, right? Especially on the larger time frames, they act bigger, right? Because they're more of a macro view, and you can assume these pivots have bigger stops and more, momentum playing off of it, right? So here, this low, and we tweeted this out, the day before. This low is 133.31, right? So that we knew was a key level, right? And then the prior week also had a key level as well of 128.46, right? And in addition, we had inside day here, okay? So so these are a couple different numbers that we had to deal with. The weekly number we couldn't really get to because we were already above it, but here the inside day, an inside day break is like an inside hourly break, an inside week break, right? So anytime you have an inside day, there's indecision, but here you had an indecision with a hammer, and or even a northern doji, and that gives it some bullish sentiment. So here, if you broke to the upside, so you had 132.38, and so you go to the hourly. So here the high was 131.64. And so what you want to do is, as this breaks, what you want to do is get a cascading effect of breaking through those levels. And so that's why it made sense to take this long. So we failed to get really through 50% of this bar. As we came up, right, we break 131.64, and then the next is to do the inside day. And I have this kind of marked here on the daily high-low indicator. But then this is the next level you want to get to, right? So this level here was, again, whatever the high of the, sorry, this was the high of the previous, sorry, this is the prior day's high, this one here. So sorry, it's hard to see which day I'm trading in. So this day here, this would have been the high right here. So once we break this is our next level, right? To get some momentum, right? So we opened up, right? We weren't quite there, so we came in, we tested this area, then we came back up, broke this hammer to the upside. That gives you momentum to push here to this, the prior day's high, which was 132.38, right? And then you would think that we would get enough to push to get into that monthly level, which is 133.31, and that was right here, and it did, and it gave a little more push to the upside, and then finally came back in and gave you an inside bar, hammer, and then it's kind of worked its way up throughout the day. But that's how you kind of can scalp these things at the open, using your anchor and then using your larger time frames, right? And so here, I just want to just take a look to see if I can throw in one of those volume bars, and we'll just kind of see if we can see. Let me add a volume profile. Oh, now that I can embed it, that's so awesome. Garth, I appreciate that so much. All right, so here on expansion, we'll say no, and then I'm just gonna I'll keep the opacity at, let's just say 30. Okay, apply. There. All right, so here, if we zoom out a little bit, we can see additionally, right, where we were, right? So here's our hammer, right? We're in this kind of this hourly air pocket anyway, so we would expect to be able to get some push as we broke, the high, right? And then we got through the prior day's high, right? And then now we're into the month at 31, right? And so that was the only thing that we had some resistance against, and as we broke through it, right, that we kind of that volume area just gave us some more resistance, right? And eventually we poked above it here at the end of the day, and I wouldn't be surprised too. I mean, if we're not turning over, tomorrow, we've got another big air pocket, kind of up here, as you can see off that volume profile, and wouldn't be surprised if we got another push up until we get to this pitchfork median. And that's another thing you can do too when you guys are drawing pitchforks, is look at your volume profile too and see where you're going to get natural resistance, and that'll help you as you're drawing your pitchforks too, to see if it's making sense, right? So here you can see as we get to this pitchfork, we're starting to run into some volume resistance, right? So just something to keep an eye on too when you're looking at that. And you can see those on the multiple time frames as well. So hopefully that helps, kind of shows you why this trade off of NVIDIA made sense. I mean, everything else is moving too, so that market strength kind of gave you a look. So you could see, if you saw that the futures were pointing up and everything too, it just made sense to try that at least long, right? And honestly, I should have gone a lot higher than I did. And so when you keep those things in mind, it can help you adjust your risk. And I will do more stuff on risk eventually. I just probably one day this week, maybe New Year's night, we'll do like something on risk too, just for sizing trades and everything. So thanks, Chris. Yeah, we're a team, man. Jimmy, what's going on? So looking at the NYT chart with volume profile, looks like it has room to fall. That's right. Yep. You're right. You're absolutely right. I'll put New York Times back up again. And let's go to the. It definitely has room to fall. And I mean, this is really negative news for these newspapers. At least I think it is. I mean, but let me go back to the daily here. Right, so it makes sense that there's a lot of support right here because there's a lot of volume in this area, right? So if we watch that 15 orb tomorrow, and let's say we gap up with the rest of the market and all that stuff, this is bad stuff. I mean, this is major deal. Newspapers getting cyber attacked, right? So at least I think so. So yeah, so it's definitely worth looking at that 15 orb tomorrow to the downside. Like you said, I mean, this thing is total air gap here until you get to this pivot area here, all the way down to, like you said, like this 1950 range, right? So where we would see that this was once resistance, we would see if that then became, support. So let's just draw a line there. Just kind of let us know, right? If we came down, we could probably get some movement on it. So we'll keep an eye on it, right? So it's definitely gonna be on the orb list tomorrow. So it might be worth a scalp, or even like a full trade down to 19. So, but in this case, I have it drawn. I mean, 20, I guess, would be your first level, then here, then 19. The only reason I drew it here is because it's that's former resistance right there, so it could be support. So watch that. But obviously, it breaks through that, then you could get into the 19s. So, and the cool part about the volume profile too is it draws a couple ranges too, where you could get potential breakouts. So here it automatically drew this level here, so you can kind of use that as your gauging as well. So I thought that was kind of neat. GSK, what's going on, man? How do you scan for inside, hourly, daily bars, scanning through your charts or scanner? So yeah, so for hourly, I just look, right? So I just kind of click through. I have a pretty small watch list. I mostly just go through the FANG stocks, intraday, and anything else I might be kind of looking at. I don't know why my watch list is so big, but I just don't have time to go through everything and chart them. But they're all kind of there just because when I look at my spark chart, I can kind of see if something's moving, counter to everything else really quickly. So I just keep it on there for that. But yeah, so the hourlies I just visually scan through, because I'll go, and let me go ahead and adjust this back to, hold on, hourly. Let's just go to like 2 days. There, get my candlesticks a little bit bigger. Hold on. There. Time axis 10. Okay. So here, right? So I'll just scan through. I'll go through, the SPY, and I'll be like, okay, kind of like a hammer bar here. I'll go through another hammer bar on the Qs, hammer bar on Facebook, right? I'll just go through and I'll kind of look at the 60, whatever current 60 I'm on, and just kind of flip through those and kind of scan through and just see what I've got. Now in the daily, I do the same thing, right? So when I go through each day, and I put my charts up, I look for the daily bar just to see what they've got, right? This is crazy, but I do the exact same thing I did with the 60s. I put it smaller and I look for how significant it is. So I analyze each of these stocks every night. So for some of the random stuff I throw out there, I do have a scanner that I use. So I can just program that in. Look for stuff. I mean, so for instance, like double inside days, I'll see if anything pops out there that I don't normally look at. So it kind of brings some stuff in that I don't. So anyway, I hope that helps. Chris, what's going on, man? So you download Elliott Wave Principles on Kindle. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah. So it is the. I mean, I have it on my desk right here. If I'm looking at something and I'm like, okay, what's going on? I mean, it's the comprehensive encyclopedia on Elliott Wave Principle, right? I mean, you can use it as an awesome reference. There's the ones like I talked about. There's the free one, like Steve Sinclair has got a good one on Kindle. It's free if you've got Kindle Unlimited. It's 99 cents if you don't. But I've read that one a couple times, and he really is pretty good, man. I think he trades mostly Forex, but he's got pretty much all the principles encapsulated, and he shows you some cool stuff. But yeah, and then the same guys. With Elliott Wave, Kennedy and Gorman, they did the visual guidebook, the Bloomberg publication on Elliott Wave, and the appendix is great because it kind of consolidates everything into all the basics, and then the rest of the book is kind of showing you practical trading applications, and that really helps. So I'm glad you got that, man. It's a winner. It's really a paradigm shift to how you look at stock charts, right? You're no longer, you start to see that a lot of the stuff you see out there on FinTwit, like rising wedges, falling wedges, triangles, diagonals, all the common kind of setups that you see on charts are actually kind of really related to just trading sort of through the Elliott Wave system. And it's pretty awesome, So, but of course you can combine it with other stuff too. I mean, like cup and handles and all your other stuff as well. But it's funny how it all ties together sometimes. So, PDX, how's it going? That's awesome. Thanks, man. Doji RSI. Yeah, that Doji on RSI alignment is freaking mind blowing. That was fantastic. Yeah. If you plug the RSI, I looked at it. I was like, you got to be kidding me! That's incredible. So yeah, oversold and over. I mean, even sometimes where it's peaking, intraday there. But yeah, I'm gonna totally. Next time I see a doji, I'm going right to RSI to see how much more powerful that could be. I mean, that's ridiculous. I couldn't believe it. So yeah, I'm all over that now. I always knew a doji is just like, oh, it's a doji, whatever. It's kind of a pause or maybe a reversal. But that RSI had some confirmation to it, which, like you said, extra confirmation. It's great. Chris, what's going on? Forgot how to display the orb range on TOS. Yeah, so the orb range, somebody tweeted out Steve Harvey Oswald tweeted out there's a way you can kind of program it in. I wasn't able to get it. I could if I could find that link, I would tweet it to you. Hold on one second. Let me see. Steve Harvey Oswald, and then we'll go see if I can put the link here in the chat window, and if you guys can figure out better how to program it in your TOS, by all means. I really just don't have time to mess with that. All right, let me try. Give me one more second so I find that link that he sent. I might have saved it as a bookmark. Hold on. TOS. Oh, I think I might have saved it as a bookmark because it was pretty cool. Let's see, order flow. No, I should have saved it I must have been looking at my phone. Hold on one second. No, I can't find it right now. But anyway, apparently you can program it into TOS, but really, I just do it visually, right? So if you go to the 15 orb here, the 15-minute time frame, all you do is, and then Tesla is pretty strong, right? So I think I've already got that pulled up. So Tesla, you just kind of look if you've got something. If you got, I post like a 15 orb list. Obviously, you can come up with your own. But here was the 15 orb from the other day, right, or from Friday. And so here was your first 15-minute bar, right? I'm on the 15-minute time frame. This is your 15-minute bar right here. And so what you do is you look for a break of that, to the upside or the downside. And so we were gapping up anyway, so you would think there'd be some sort of upside move. And I had this on the watch list just because of more Tesla actions, China stuff, etc. Here you could have tried to trade it here as a break to it, but you would have seen it just didn't have enough kind of power really to do it. I wasn't looking at it here at the time, but when I was scanning through later in the day, I think I had an alert and it kind of popped, and so I kind of looked over here, and then this right there, so you can see that, and I just put a bar there so you can kind of look at it, and then you could have done one here too, just so you can see if it goes to the downside. And then you can just use that to, as your reference as you're scrolling through your stocks that you watch intraday. And so here, as it was kind of coming up, I had an alert set, kind of popped up. I was like, hey, Tesla is approaching its 15 orb level. Looks like it's getting some power. The market was getting strong. And so, boom, it popped out through the 15 orb. Move your stop to profit. And then you could just kind of trade that to the upside, however, using your, trading techniques. It really did hug the 10 MA all day. Right, so it kind of came up, it drifted back in, held the 10 MA, went up again, and when it finally broke it here, the trade was over. But it was good from 327, essentially all the way up to 332. But there was a volume profile gap too as well, and I think I noted that on the Twitter feed as well. But as it broke this level, this 15 orb level, look at that. It also corresponded to this nice air pocket here. So it gave that nice push up at least, right, from 327 all the way here, pretty much to 330, right, till it really hit some volumetric resistance. And so so that was at 330 level here. And you can see here, even here when I got to that 329, right, it kind of didn't like it because of that volume. Then it kind of had to consolidate for a little bit, right? It was dealing with all this prior volume, right? And so and then it tried to give one more push, right, as the volumetric resistance kind of dropped a little bit, and then, as you know, all stocks don't move forever, so it just kind of pulled back in, right? So but I think that can help your trading too. So when you combine all these techniques, and I'm certainly going to now put this volume that Karthik showed me how to do it, I'm going to put it behind every bar. It's fantastic, because I was going to be like, oh, I'll check it occasionally, when I board and pull it up. But this is great now that I can embed it underneath it. You can probably change colors on it too and all that stuff. So this is great. That changed my life, man. It's fantastic. Good stuff. And so yeah, so hopefully that helps a little bit. New York Times News isn't out anywhere though. Yeah, I mean, it was on the fly. I didn't see any of the references on it, but I mean, this was the if you go to the fly, it was some of the top weekend stories. So if you follow at the Fly News, it was a top weekend story. So yeah, I mean, you probably didn't hear too much about it because I'm sure the New York Times didn't want to put it on the cover of their newspaper, right? They probably weren't like, we were hacked, right? So they probably don't want to make that. They probably buried it somewhere, right? So so it's kind of funny, but yeah. But it's there, right? And so they're so we can still watch the 15 orb and see how it handles it. But that's a good point, Darren. So, John, what's going on, man? How do you get the intermediate lines on the pitchfork between the top mid and the bottom to show a 5-line chart? I think I know what you're saying. So let me just do one here. So 5-line chart. 1, 2, 3. Oh, you're talking about getting those like the mids on it. Honestly, man, I don't know. I don't know if it does it automatically in TradingView, but when you do it here, right? It's just these. But the way you could do it is you could do a, let me see if there's any properties here. I don't know if you can see this property pop up, but I'm just looking at, so you got begin point, end point, pitchfork curve properties. So you've got coefficient 1 and 2, handle curve properties, retracement, color, trend line, add curve. Let me see if I can do that. I just want to see what that does real quick. That was crazy. Alright, so I put those there. Let's try that again. So I put them both on the baseline. So I made those 0 and 0. But if I said coefficient, let me see what 2 and, I don't know, 4 does. I put those way up there. That's not it. There's probably a way. I've just never done it before. That's a coefficient, let's say 0.5. How about negative 0.5? Alright, put it in the middle. I'll remove that. Yeah, so I'm not sure how to do it. Show coefficients at the base, at the end, do not show. Standard. Oh, hold on, let's see, you can do shift. That's weird. Okay, no, I don't want that. But it's cool, eh? Modified shift, see if that does anything. Nope. That's interesting. I'm not sure, but so what I would do just as a hack to do it, so there's your pitchfork, right? What I would do is just, kind of maybe draw like a trend channel here. Just kind of draw it in the middle, and then just kind of bring it down here, and just extend it. Right, and then you can kind of use that as a reference too. So I mean, it's a little cheesy, but it's a quick hack, just to kind of get some bearings on those middle lines there. So, but yeah, I'm not sure how to. If you find out, let me know how to edit that. But I'm pretty happy with just using these levels here, just to give kind of pivot, and then kind of visually to see if you're in the middle of the range and all that stuff. So, Shirley, what's going on? How are you? Cool. So we got a couple to look at here. So we got SIG. Let's see how that's looking. Yeah, sorry, I got all these volume profiles. I'm gonna embed these on each of these charts, and I need to save my workspace to see where that's at. But let's take a look at SIG. Or that's not SIT. Is that even a stock? Apparently it is. Okay, so SIG, this energy group here. So we've got nice green hammer month working, right? Inside week that we can hopefully take to the upside next week, right? And then we've got our pitchfork that we drew last time. You see here I was trying to hack a couple midpoints too, but once you guys figure that out, let me know. But yeah, so, and you've probably figured out in the settings, I just don't know how to put what those levels would be in it. So it's probably maybe 50%, maybe I should put like 50 or something like that, or 5 or something. But anyway, yeah, so here it looks like it's working its way up the pitchfork, right? It handled the median of it very well. And it's coming up into some resistance, but if it could break through that, there could be, some more potential, right? Up there, 384 is the next level it wants to get to. And then ultimately, here, that's daily. Yeah, so here, I mean, just looks like, it's heading up to resistance, but if it can break out, then you want to see if it can handle this trigger fan line, and then maybe get above this to get to that last pivot back there at that 384. And Azul. Okay, let's see what kind of progress it's made. Yep, good. It's gotten above the that pitchfork median line, and hopefully that'll become support for you. Maybe tag it one more time, and then kind of just start working its way back up here to this 2930 level on Azul. Jimmy, what's going on? Should we please look at Microsoft with the volume profile? Yeah, let's check that out. Okay, so here, did we pitchfork that last time? We did. It did get outside the pitchfork, so that's good. And let's add some volume to it. Studies. Edit studies, profile, volume profile, edit, expansion, no, opacity, let's go 30, let's go 40, okay, apply, boom, All right, that is awesome. Okay, so here as we look at this, we can see just this is on the hourly pitchfork area. So what it did, right, and it came back up. It broke through the pitchfork. It was resistance earlier, and you can see this line here is this line right here that comes up. That comes with the volume. It's showing that that's kind of a significant level, and it looks like it got above that. And so now we see where it wants to go next. It looks like you get a nice air pocket right up here, right? This air pocket right here could be good, and you could get hopefully a push. Anywhere next major level is 104. And then 105, right? And then 106. So looks like you've got a nice, we're kind of sitting, as long as it breaks out and can get above 101, 101, 102, right? Looks like you can get into that nice kind of volume air pocket right there, which would be pretty slick. And it would make sense, right? Because it would kind of continue back up. At that point, we could draw another pitchfork, kind of see, where it's going from there. But yeah, I mean, it looks pretty constructive right now, right? Let's just go look and see how it finished on the 60s. See if there's anything to work with. Yeah, it kind of gave us a hammer here. So you can look at that off the 60s, use a 60 anchor for that tomorrow, right? And you can see the top of this anchor, once it gets over the VWAP, it's got, kind of a nice little air pocket here. You can see it tried that a couple times up here and up here. It's been rejected, so maybe one more time, third time's the charm. You can kind of get up through that. Daily, let's just see if we got any cool candle that happened. Probably similar to everything else. Yeah, kind of a red hammer spinning top. So kind of came back in the range, right? But it had a Morningstar reversal. Big hammer day, kind of came back in. I would expect at least within 1 or 2 days to continue this trying a little bit higher, right? Here's your 200-day moving average, so it should at least try 103, right? So these are kind of good temporary. And if we can get above that, then you might have some more progress, right? So weekly kind of put in almost a hammer here for you, so that is bullish sign. And then monthly, of course, is red, but look what it did, right? Remember we were talking about those levels being kind of significant. Look at, and if I was stalking this one, this definitely would have been one to look at. But here, the low level here, 99.35, and I think we talked about it last time, but 99.35, it did get through that pretty well. It's already a point off of that. So you're in this range. You don't want it to, once again, if it tries to test at 99.35 to the downside, then you might get some momentum to the downside. It's showing, hey, I don't like this price range at all. I want to test down further, right? So it's kind of my kind of short-term limit, but that kind of helps with the volume profile too. So Lambert always shows that, and they help. Yeah, they do. So Lambert puts those on. He uses TradingView, and it's default with that. So I have to figure out how to do that in Thinkorswim. But in the meantime, you can still hack it, and and if I find another way, I'll let you know. Absolutely. So SXC Fitness, what's going on? Have you done a 2K to 50K challenge? I think it's a good idea. So I'm thinking about doing that. Maybe I'll do it. Let me pray on that and think about that for the new year, and look at doing it. I might just open or just use. I've got an account on Thinkorswim that I never use because commissions are high, but I might do that just to show that we can do it. I might do a 500 to a $10,000 challenge or something like that. Definitely. So that would definitely be worth looking at. So, but I appreciate you bringing that up, and that's probably a good idea for me to look into thinking about for the new year. So let me pray on it and work on it. So, gonna build up my confidence. All right, but I definitely think it's possible. Plus, I don't mind either because I could use an extra 10 grand. So I'm willing to take the challenge, right? Good, John. Yeah, thank you. I mean, Lambert does a great job. But yeah, so TradingView is another place you can work on your charts. So I just had to figure out how to do it in Thinkorswim. So what else we got? Shirley, we got GSAT. Yeah, GSAT was a good one, right? So nice month so far. Really putting a nice hammer month there. It's engulfing, right? It's taking out that whole prior month with the top and the bottom. Hammer week looking good, looking strong. And let's see. Oh, look at that. These volume profiles are awesome. Okay, so here, we're testing the top of the pitchfork range, and look at that. Just kind of that daily volume air pocket, right? I mean, so once we can get over this, this breakout level here, this 55 cents, and then take out whatever this is, this nonsense pivot right here, 70 cents. I mean, it looks like there's this nice. I mean, it looks like it could possibly get up to $1.50 at some point. Now I don't know how long it's going to take, right? Or if it's going to squeeze through there or anything like that. But it looks like there's some good stuff happening, and like I said, this pitchfork is pointing up, and that's rare for me to draw one that's pointing up these days. So, so it looks like there's definitely some potential going on there. So that's looking kind of good. Gosh, these volume profiles are awesome. Okay, cool. LRN. LRN looking good, right? So again, that 2468 is a key breakout level, right? And so let's see if we can get through that. Obviously, it's got not a lot of volume profile above it. If this is kind of the first time it's been in this area, but I mean it's looking super strong. There's a lot of action going on here. So so we'll see. So it probably has this is that K-12 stuff. So it's probably government sponsored and all that. So, but inside month, right? So it's kind of taking that to the upside, giving you a nice momentum hammer here too. So these are, I mean, look at this. This is all every month has been green, right? So that's pretty huge. So weeklies had an inside week, lots of consolidation here. You can kind of consider this like a weekly, kind of flag there. Kind of flaggish type forming. So, potential breakout possible. All your moving averages are starting to catch up, right? And so, ADX looks good. Everything's green. So, it looks like an inside hourly too. So, it looks very bullish, right? A break of that 60 anchor to the upside could give you another push through a volume pocket, right? All the way up to this 24, 25, kind of level. So, definitely some potential on this one. And did we pitchfork this one yet? No, not yet. Let's see. It looks good, bullish. 7-11. Kind of here. That makes sense. All right, so it's dealing with median. See, consolidating around that median level. Right, and it makes sense if we could get above that. There's a kind of low volume profile right now, at least on this this area. So I mean, obviously that's the only risk you have when you're getting at all-time highs, right? Is there's no supporter. It doesn't mean it's going to go forever, right? You just don't know if you've got anybody who's going to if there's many offers out there, right? So you don't want to kind of mark it in up here, right? Because you could get really stuck and you could top ticket. But just looks like it's got some potential, right? So this is a really interesting one to keep an eye on. So PAR. These volume profiles make it look like I've looked at this before. PAR technology looks like it's been a really good uptrend. Kind of looks at say 1, 2 might be working on a corrective phase down. It's been kind of fuzzy around here, but let's see. For the most part, we did put in a pivot here, so we could see it's working on this kind of median line area, right? So just kind of. It's a big up days, right? So so strong uptrends here on indicators. So we got to see if it wants to pivot here, and come back down. I'm kind of this wave count's a little funky. It's hard to a lot of static on this, right? So it's kind of starting to come out of this this downward channel. You could look at it as a bull flag, and now it's kind of breaking out. So as it kind of got out of there, but just real quick, the green hammer month. Very nice, double green hammers, so that's good. Continuation, huge green week, right? And we already looked at the daily, right? So, and it's got, let's see the volume profile there. Looks good, a little pocket here, might get you over the median line, then it might consolidate a little bit, and then start to break its way up and get back to that 26 level. So, looks good. And then a lot of volume here at the end of the day there. And I like this too, is it's spinning top. I mean, if it doesn't want further down, it looks like it could kind of at least retest those highs again there. So that looks good. And meat, we looked at this the other day. I know that. So let's just go straight to the meat of it and see what's going on. So good, gapped up. this is good. This is working well for you. Gapped up, kind of in the middle of the range here. Kind of put in a pivot. Might want to retest it, kind of fill the gap again, and then you might get some more upside movement on this one. So just kind of watch how that's going. And you got nice pocket right here, nice volume pocket above it. So see how it kind of pivoted before that. It's like, oh, I don't want to quite, go yet. So kind of I'm expecting, a bit of a gap fill and then go long again as it, pivots here at the median line. So kind of looking at that as well. So Jimmy, thank you. Appreciate it. Appreciate everybody for chart requests, ideas. Karthik, thank you so much for showing me how to embed that. I'm going to go fix that on my charts and save it as my my default workspace, and that's really great. So lots of good stuff tonight. I appreciate everybody tuning in. Thank you for watching. I will see you guys tomorrow. I plan on trading live at the open again. We'll look at some of the 60 anchors and how we trade them live, and then I'll kind of be on the lookout all day for some good intraday setups, and I'll really start thinking about doing some sort of challenge, like even a $500 challenge or something like that to get things going in the new year. So appreciate everybody, and hope you have a great night, and I will talk to you tomorrow.